When you don't go to Geico.com, car insurance can be confusing. Like Swedish techno confusing.
Bark, bark, meow, meow. Dance with me, purple cow. Bark, bark, meow, meow. Ooh, you lovely cow.
Geico makes it easy. With 24/7 access, all you have to do is go to Geico.com and you could save money on car insurance. It just makes sense. Unlike,
Dance with me, purple cow. I like your moves.
Blog Talk Radio.
Live from Fort Bragg's backyard, this is the show that put the 110 Nation on the map. There is only one nation, the 110 Nation, and you're listening to the 110 Nation Sports Show. Covering each and every sport across the board. There is no sport too large or too little. It's time to talk the talk. Here we go. Here's the man, the founder, and your host, Mr. CJ Sports.
I want to welcome everybody to the 110 Nation Sports Show. Apologies on the delay. For some reason, the PIN number it really wigs me out. First of all, I apologize. I was having trouble getting the PIN number to work. It took me 2 or 3 times to call in, but it really wigs me out because, and I may notice the first time I noticed it was like a week ago or so, but it has a totally different call-in number for the host. And I don't know, maybe one of these times I should try calling it and see what happens when I try to call that number. Like the host has a whole totally different call-in number to call, and it has always been the same call-in number since far back as I can remember. Then all of a sudden, a little louder. All of a sudden, is that better? All the way up. But all of a sudden, a different host calling number showed up, and I don't know, it just bothers me. Like, I just keep listening to the number, like, but my old calling number still works. Like, obviously, we're still doing a show, and I've noticed it like a week or two ago. But anyway, apologize for the delay. New time slot, 8 to 10. I'm hoping everybody has seen the memos and the post and everything else that the announcements. And if you caught the show last week, you knew about the announcement as well. I got promoted in my quote-unquote real job, and we really got to keep. We really got to keep growing like we are so I can eventually walk away from this and 110 Nation be my 24/7 occupation, and that's my only occupation. I cannot wait for the day. We will definitely, yes, we will be 24/7 soon. At least at some point anyway. I'll say no very soon, but got promoted. I am the store manager at the place that I work at, Circle K. I tell you what, I had a totally different opinion about those people that work at gas stations after I had the pleasure of working at the gas station. It wasn't something that I ever thought that I would do. Just never thought of it, I don't know. But I always assumed they just stood there all day long and just waited for people to come in. And especially those stores that are a little lower volume and you only got single coverage. And then I was sadly awakened to what really goes on when you're not in the gas station, you as in the customer. And all the behind-the-scenes stuff that really goes on, and, the stuff that is magically fill itself in the coolers and doesn't magically fill itself on the shelves and doesn't magically ice itself. And, I had never really thought about all that stuff all the years I went to the gas station. Like, I just assumed vendors came in and took care of all that. That's just what I assumed. And don't get me wrong, there's vendors like Frito-Lay and Lance and Tasty Cakes that come in and Little W's, and yes, they hook their stuff up and put it on the shelves. But yeah, all the rest of it, but everything else, that's us doing. So you talk about 90% of the store is us doing it, and then I, as an assistant manager, I always looked at my boss lady and like, why are you running around like your head cut off? Like, what did you do all morning long? And I tell you what, I became the store manager officially on Friday, and I got to applaud my boss lady because she got a promotion. That's what opened up the opportunity for me to get my promotion. She's done a wonderful job with the store that I'm at now, and is turned the store around remarkably from where it was even at. And I also got to applaud Cam, the boss before her, that had initially got the ball rolling and started to turn the store around. I just been fortunate to be there with both of them, to be part of both of their turning the store around. But she did a phenomenal job, and profits. We're a very profitable store to be one of the lower volume stores in town. And part of the reason, we're not 24 hours, so we lose that 6 hours of sales. Not that I'm saying it's a crap ton of sales, but from midnight to 2, we are losing those late beer sales, and not open until 6. You lose some of that military that's coming through, being right outside of Fort Bragg, but she's made the store be a very profitable store, and then so also taught me a lot, but made me look good as well. Riding that coattail and being part of that success and be able to pick up the knowledge that I have. And I just sit there and think to myself every day, what did you do all day long? Like, I can't imagine you having that much more to do than I do as an assistant manager. And here we are every day. I get in about 1 o'clock. You're leaving at 3 o'clock, and you're lucky to get out at 3 o'clock. And then I became store manager Friday, and I have already managed to go over a little over 2 hours over my scheduled time so far this week. I quickly realized there's a lot more to being a store manager than I realized what was going on. Like, it's not that there's a lot more work. It just, you got time frames and you got things that got to be done. Like, my truck shows up at 6:30 this morning. I have my morning person clock in 30 minutes early. She wasn't even supposed to be in there until 7. And we didn't finish that truck until, God knows, 11:30, almost 12 o'clock, between all the customers that come through and just the size of the truck. You're talking almost $6,000 worth of stuff. And, it might not seem a lot, but when you're talking about $30 boxes of candy and, $10 of this and $15 worth of that and 35 cases of one particular flavor of water, not to mention the 5 cases of the other that got to be moved. I mean, I must have moved about 50 cases of water, just in the water alone. And so it gets to be a very tedious day, and you got to find spots for all this and rotate everything so that the old stuff's in the front or on top of the box, whatever the product happens to be there. And then by the time I get done with that, and then it's getting back to finishing the paperwork, or in between, actually, I got to get certain part of the paperwork done because it's got to be submitted by her. Report's got to be in by 9:30. Then the other part of the paperwork's got to be submitted by 10 o'clock, and then you got the bank run in the middle of that, and then you got the paperwork that you got to submit it, but now you got to staple this to that and staple that to this and this and that, and then, this being Monday, you got to get all the paperwork together to be shipped off in what they call a pony, but basically an envelope to be sent to the office. So, I'm supposed to get off at 1 o'clock, and here it is about 2:30. I'm finally wandering out the door, and I just quickly realized why the boss lady was always running around like she had her head cut, or like a chicken with her head cut off. And oh goodness, trust me, I'm not complaining. To know my pay about doubled. Yes, I got to work 10 extra hours, but my pay is just short of doubling of what I was currently making, and my quarterly bonus opportunities more than doubles what my possibilities are, or my max possibilities are. So trust me, I'm not complaining, but I think the other big adjustment to the whole promotion is, we was kind of set in the schedule. This is where the show change comes into place, kind of the whole point of the whole story. I just kind of went around the world and seen a lot of faces before I got to this point here. It was kind of set in our ways when I would open on Saturday and Sunday. So that was only 2 days I had to get up at 4:30 in the morning. Those were usually my 2 longest days. I usually got to be work 5 to 3. I wasn't looking at the. My bad, Steve. I wasn't even looking in the studio. I was busy talking. Let me finish my story, and I get you out here. I'm just kind of in la la land right this second. I'm sorry. I had a train of thought. I saw Steve coming in the studio. I only had to get up Saturday, Sunday at 4:30. We work at 5. And those were my 2 long shifts, 10-hour shifts, and, half my hours, and then just 3 smaller shifts on the other day, but they were mids, and that's why the show was always 9 to 11. Well, this whole opening, and right now I ain't got an assistant manager, so I had to be there 6 days right now. But even the 5 days, I got to be up at 4:30 in the morning, and I was excited about it at first. I'm going to be done by 3 o'clock, and I'm done for the day. And then I realized, I'm not ready for this, or adjusting to this rather well, with kids and cleaning and shows and everything else, that by about 6, 7 o'clock, I'm ready to nap. If I don't have shows, I am staying as up as late as I can. By 7, 8 o'clock, I'm done for the night. If we do have shows, usually I try to take a nap, and so that I'm prepared to be up for the shows. And last night I was in bed about 7 o'clock. Tonight I didn't get a nap in, but I also knew the show was going to be a little bit earlier, and I'm off tomorrow. It's my only day off. I worked 8 straight days, and get up at 4:30 for 8 straight days, and now I get off a day, and then I'll be back at least 7 straight days. Who knows when the next day is going to be off. Like I said, I'm not going to complain. What's also great about the company is they're not salary managers. I am hourly, so I'm going to get paid, and I'm enjoying it. But anyway, Steve, if you want to call back in, I didn't realize you were in the studio. I switched off the studio and went to Facebook to conversate with people behind the scenes before we get the show kicked off all the way. But, yeah, the smooth reason for the move. For those that don't know, after the show, I got to download the show, and sometimes it takes an hour or 2. Sometimes I can't even do it until, I have to get up early, even earlier, like 4:15, to download the show. And hell, there's been sometimes that I couldn't download it until the next show was done before they actually let me download it. But we send the show over to I-95. Big shout-out to them, the I-95 Sports Network. But sometimes it takes an hour. Sometimes it takes all night. Sometimes it's middle afternoon or the next show before it lets me download. But, I get off the show. I try to stay up to do the download. And usually talk to Mike, the host of Hot Laps with Stats. We're going to have him on a little bit here to talk about this last weekend at the road course. Sometimes I talk to Miss Lee after the show. Usually I end up talking to both of them. And then, of course, I got press releases, which I got one right before the show, so I got to do that after the show. And anything else we got social media-wise, get things organized for the next show, get the show, if I got time and got the energy, go ahead and get the next show scheduled. Usually Steve and Mike's shows, usually it is late night when I get there, so usually they'll get me their show description mid-afternoon, and so I try to get it done that night, so they have a couple of days to promote their show. All this stuff goes on. It's 12:31 o'clock before I get done. And not to mention that I got to shower still, usually, because I'm usually coming straight from work, getting into the house and getting the show set up and get prepared for the show. And then Not to mention that, either Shorty's not here when I get here, so of course once I'm finally done with everything, she wants a little bit of my time. Or, I just simply would come out and watch TV and kind of wind down a little bit. And most nights, it's, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning before we finally wander into the bedroom and call it a night. Or 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, in the morning before we fall asleep on the couch. That happens to be a more and more reoccurring thing there. I decided, I know it's only an hour, but we decided we would move the show up to 8 to 10. That way I could be done, I'd give it until 11 o'clock, and if I can't get the show downloaded, then yes, I would set my alarm clock a little bit earlier, get up then, try to get it over to I-95 so they can do the show in the morning. If not, I'm off at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, which has to make adjustments, but, that was kind of the purpose. I wanted to actually move it up to 7 to 9, forgetting that we even did Rubbing His Racing on Monday nights. I forgot about that when I was talking about it, which we could have just moved that up even earlier since I'd be off anyway. But, our big concern was our West Coast listeners. We didn't, 7 to 9, that puts you at about, 3 to 6 show, or 3 to 5 show, and we was concerned on how much of a loss we would lose for our West Coast listeners. So we decided we would give it an 8 to 10 run to see how well I'm able to adjust to that and see if that works. And I'm sure over time it'll get easier. I say that, but here come August time, the kids go, and this is their first year, and both Shorty kids are going to kindergarten. And so she usually works afternoon and evening, so at least 3 of the days, if not 4, depending on her work week, I'll be responsible for, getting them off the bus and taking care of the homework, getting them fed and everything else. So I'm waiting for that one more twist, that one more adjustment yet to come this, this school year. But we're going to see how this works and see if we can keep it at 8 to 10. I like this slot, and maybe it'll help hit a different demographic. It won't be so late for those on the East Coast, and maybe we'll pick up some more listeners that way as well. So we'll see. But that's the reason for the change for those that missed the show last week or wondered why is the 110 Nation Sports Show that's been on the 9 to 11 slot for at least a year, if not a couple years at this point, all of a sudden decided to go 8 to 10 on it. That's the reason. Get up 4:30 in the morning. It's rough enough as it is, not alone having a show that's going to keep me up until 12 o'clock at night, and life and kids and cleaning and everything else that prevents me from back into the afternoon. But we got a couple big topics that I want to get into tonight, and then I'm sure there's some other minor topics that we will venture in as well. Not quite sure. I thought Steve was going to chime back in. Wasn't like that. I wasn't trying to ignore anybody. I wasn't really paying attention to the studio, and since Rubbing His Racing ended up not being a go tonight, I just didn't pay that attention to the studio. I didn't expect anybody to be calling in this early to get on the show anyway. It's, of course, we always got people hanging out in the studio just listening to it. So, but got two kind of interesting, but yet at the same time controversial topics. Well, I wouldn't say really. Well, I don't know if I'd say controversial. We're going to talk about Team USA. Somebody's little 24/7 Sports is a little excited about this team, talking about what's like back-to-back gold. I don't know if I agree with having the looking at these players on this roster. I don't know. Don't get me wrong, there's some talented players on this team. But there's a lot of highly overrated players on this team. And a lot of, and when I say a lot, I am using this word very, very, very lightly because there's a lot of weaknesses. There's a lot of holes. This is going to be interesting. Plus the egos on with some of these players. Yeah. We'll definitely be talking about that. Also, I'm going to be talking about Tony Stewart win of the season. Snapped a 86 race winless streak, somewhere in that ballpark. He ain't won in a few years. I don't even know if anybody, without looking it up, knows on the top of the head. I don't even know if a Tony Stewart fan knows. Put the last race he won, going back to those 80-something races. I don't want to say it was 86, 84, or something like that. And it's not even how you won the race that's interesting to me. It is the conversation that I am dying to get into that is interesting. It'll be interesting, everybody else, not just. But before we jump into those two topics, we have our statistician in the studio. We have our host of Hot Laps with Stats in the studio. We have Mike Perricone. How you doing tonight?
How you doing there, CJ? Okay, good week. Good week. You had a good week, and I had a good week. The Whalen Modified Tour was at Riverhead, and our streak is alive as far as the 110 Nation Radio Network, because another guest that was on Steve's show won the event, Timmy Salamito, trying to get him on for Friday. As far as who I booked, Jimmy Blewett will be back because he finished in the top 5. He got a 4th, and we'll talk to him about his season since he was on last. And he's had some great success as well. And also on Friday next week, I have managed to book John Elwood, who is the GM of Riverhead, and he will tell the fans what goes on behind the scenes to set up the track each week, and especially last week with the visiting drivers come in. He does a lot more around the track in terms of spiffing things up and everything else. Couldn't come on Friday because I just saw an announcement, and now I know why. They're going to run, you mentioned this last week, as one of your favorite movies on Friday night for the fans out on Long Island. Riverhead Raceway is having a movie night, and they're going to run The Ballad of Ricky Bobby, Talladega Nights. So I might lose some listeners on Friday night, but you could definitely listen to the archive version of the show on, whenever CJ gets it up. But that all those shows will be archived. And so right now we have Jimmy Blewett. I'm working on getting Timmy Salamito and also Eddie Fatchler, who won a race down in your area there, CJ, in Concord. I think about 2 weeks ago, he won a major legend event. They're running the legends for, I think, almost 8 straight weeks. And I think Eddie came back with he definitely won I think 2 weeks ago. So they run the legends for 8 weeks straight. And so I'm trying to get him hooked up either down there if he's running the end, or I don't know where he's at, if he came back up to Long Island or if he's still down there. I've got his number and his mom's number, so I'm trying to hook him up for Friday also. So we have 3 potential guests, and this is one of the reasons I like to, aside from number one reason is to get the paperwork to CJ, but then also to know what I'm doing, and if one guest falls through, and I have guests B, C, or D. So far we have Jimmy Blewett coming on, and Hopefully we'll get Team Salamito and a legend driver also. So that'll be another interesting show, CJ.
Most definitely. Let them know how to follow you on social media.
Excuse me?
So let them know how to follow you on social media.
Okay. Yes, my personal page on Facebook. You can find me there. Or 2 110 Nation pages, and I will mention something in relation to that. I guess the older of the 2 pages, I guess you'd say, on that, I try to, as is our custom on there, to vary the sports, and I just, CJ, I don't know if you follow women's basketball, but when I monitored that page over the weekend, the highest level of readership that read that particular article was unfortunately a sad article about Packhead Summit, who is the former Tennessee women's basketball coach, who apparently is close to death. She is battling dementia. And of all these stories that I've posted since I've been moderating both pages, co-moderating one and monitoring the other as well, that is the highest based on that little strip on the bottom that tells you how many readers saw the story. That was the highest read story so far. So I do try and vary those stories as well. And things like Dylan Lufkin, who was on CJ's show last week, finished 35th. Now you would say, okay, 35th out of 40 cars, but I mean, keep in mind that it was his first Sprint Cup race, and he apparently kept the car in one piece. So he should be tremendously proud about that. And just starting, I guess you'd say he'd be proud. But the fact that he came in and kept the car in one piece is definitely a plus. So anyway, those two pages, and then 2 hot left the stats pages. The one that fans should be familiar with is the fan page, where I ask for input and guest suggestions that I might not have thought of. But by all means, check those out and let me know if there's any guests you want on the program, and I will do my best to book them on a Friday night. And so that's my social media, along with Twitter. You'll find me at Stats108, and so that's my social media. And as far as one other story I need to mention, CJ, which was over the weekend, was about the truck race and the fight that ensued, so-called fight, quote unquote, that looked like more like they were dancing anyway. But they decided to get out of the truck and dance, and I'm monitoring that. And so far, I read this morning that Steve O'Donnell from NASCAR says that because they were on the West Coast, the sprint guys were on the West Coast, all the officials didn't come back yet, and so they're going to be reviewing videotape and everything else, and a decision is supposed to come down either Tuesday or Wednesday. And you could read what's up there so far, because I posted that as well on the 110 Nation pages about the fight and supposed penalties coming down. But that will be announced tomorrow or Wednesday, and of course I will monitor that as well. So that's basically what we have, except a lot of people on at the Red yesterday were pleased with Tony Stewart. And, he was just beside himself. He couldn't believe it. And supposedly, I didn't hear his video, but supposedly came up with a very interesting interview. So I'll have to look into that. And because him and his crew, obviously, were beside themselves and must have been celebrating into the night here last night. But and I saw something about Jeff Gordon too, coming down and congratulating him and talking to him in Victory Lane there, and so everybody around NASCAR apparently happy for Tony. And the last time I saw that, when he came in for the flag, was all the crews went to him and shook his hand. And the last time I saw that was probably when Dale Sr. won the 500. Was the last time I saw that kind of line, like a reception line for a winner. So it was a very interesting weekend, CJ.
I wonder if Jeff Gordon got permission or the okay for Brett Keselowski before he went down there and shook his hand, because Keselowski doesn't like Jeff Gordon showing favoritism to any driver. And by, all technicalities, since, Hendrick provides, the chassis and the motors, they're technically, and Jeff Gordon is part owner of Hendrick Motorsport, that technically, would be showing an interest in favoritism. And so I wonder if Brett Keselowski gave the nod. It was all right for Jeff Gordon to go down there before he got accused of being biased in the studio where Matt were as a broadcaster. But anyway,
well, I don't think Jeff really cared at that point, because everybody was happy for Tony,
I know.
But,
Dylan Luxon on that whole topic. He finished better than he started. I think he started 38th to 39th, so at least he improved on where he started. And I mean, let's be honest. I mean, as great of a driver as he is, and great of a guy that he is, and he's been on the show multiple times. What did everybody really expect from him in a V8 racing car on his first race? I mean, we pretty much got what we kind of expected. And, it wasn't like he was expecting to go out there and win the race. He knew what he was getting into when he got into the car. And, he made the most of the opportunity, improved on where he started. And, he's got something, he's got notes to build off of, and, a race to put on his resume. At least he gets to say that he was out there with 39 of the best drivers in the world. And, kind of go from there and, like I said, make the most of that opportunity. But I don't honestly think anybody expected much more than, I think if he would have gotten in a top 20 spot, anywhere up to 29, I think we honestly probably would have been surprised. I think somewhere in the 30s is kind of what we was expecting anyway. And it's not, nothing against Dylan Lumpton, great guy, great driver. Like I said, it's an underfunded team. It's PK Racing. I mean, we don't expect Matt Diablo, or however you pronounce his name, and David Reagan to be up there. I think that Matt finishing in, sixth in that one race, I think about took the world by surprise. But nobody, it's PK Racing. And it's not a shot against them. It's just they're not Hendrick, they're not Penske, they're not Roush. They're not a highly funded team. And, you get what you get. And, these drivers are trying to make the most of what they can and making a name of themselves and hoping for better opportunities. And they're hoping that this will turn into better opportunities. But, great job for Dylan. I definitely congratulate him, applaud him. Would love to have him come back, in the real near future and talk about his Sprint Cup opportunity. I'm sure that will be a cool story to listen to, and a fun show, but I think honestly we kind of got what we expected on that whole ordeal. Tony Stewart. I have not seen anything on any threads at this point. I'm kind of curious once I bring this up if you've seen any threads about this. But Tony Stewart has now put himself in the opportunity, as long as he finishes in the top 30 in points, to be eligible for the chase. Something that almost all of NASCAR Nation, except for Rowdy fans, have looked down upon Kyle Busch for, because that's how he won his championship. He missed the first 11 races or whatever it was, came out, won like a bat out of hell. I think he still won more races than anybody else in the season. Finished and won the points last year, crowned the champion, and everybody hates Kyle Busch. And I don't know how many times I've seen the whole meme, whatever y'all call it, where you guys, I think it's Earnhardt, talk about back in my days, if you miss 11 races, you don't win a championship, or if you miss even a race, you don't win a championship or something. I forget what it is. All they hate is the route. I have not heard any conversations or seen any threads or any, to the point yet on how people are going to react if Tony Stewart finds a way into the chase. Because if we don't get the same backlash for Tony Stewart, and don't get me wrong, I'm a small fan, don't want to see him go. I know he does a lot of great things and is involved in a lot of great charities. It does a lot of great things for people. I understand. And this is not a shot at Tony Stewart. This is a shot of all those hypocritical, two-faced fans out there that had such an issue with Kyle Busch not only making the chase but win. What happens if Tony Stewart wins the chase this year? What happens if he gets in the top 30 and makes the chase? Are we going to see the same? We're going to hear the same conversations again, especially with this being on Tony Stewart's farewell tour? Or are we going to be oohing on and all, way to go, Tony, way to go out on top. Glad you made the chase. This was, a rule that was great for the occasion like this, even though Kyle Busch's incident was not his fault. I mean, NASCAR made changes because of what happened to Kyle Busch.
I was thinking about this over the weekend, especially seeing Tony win. And I really think I don't know, but this is my opinion. And I'm going to say it, and be that as it may. I think people, when they hate on Kyle Busch, are thinking about the spoiled Kyle Busch, and you've said it. You've said it on your show. I don't have, opportunity to say it on mine because I don't cover NASCAR per se. I'm covering the Northeast. But as far as Kyle, I think people view the old Kyle, like before marriage and before fatherhood, and they don't give him enough credit for growing, I'm going to put it this way, growing up. And they don't see the Kyle Busch now versus, and I'll admit it, I felt the same way. The spoiled brat he was when he started. Okay? If you put Kyle Busch, when he first started, next to his brother, Kurt was more respected at that time. But people don't give him credit for changing. And I think that's the problem. I think when fans knock Kyle Busch, first of all, it's because he's winning this year up to, the last couple of races, which we discussed on your shows. But they don't give him. I think they see in their mind's eye the Kyle Busch when he broke into NASCAR. I really do. I think that's what it is. And then Tony gets kudos because he's Tony, and he had a lot of fans even when he was driving for Gibbs. And I think now, because of the injuries and the back and whatever else was going on with Tony, and they mentioned it even on the air on Fox during the race or after the race when Tony got hurt driving. Not so much, although that adds to it too, with what happened with the sprint car, but also how he got hurt lately with, I think he was on doing something for fun, I think with a go-kart or some fool thing, and got hurt again with the latest injury. I think he, because of what happened to him, it engendered, not sympathy, but people's understanding more than anything else. And literally everybody in NASCAR that I know, that I read, was pleased for Tony. So maybe the one.
I will go back to your point that you said early on. A lot of people don't give Kyle Busch credit for making the changes. I'm going to stop. I'm going to pull up the brakes right there for a second. I don't care if Kyle Busch is the biggest dick to walk the face of the earth. I don't care if his ego is bigger than all 32 NFL stadiums combined, in all 36 circuits, and I know some of them were duplicate tracks, but 36 circuit tracks combined. I don't care if his ego is bigger than all that put together. What I am so tired of hearing, and I applaud Kyle Busch for his changes. My whole point is that it don't matter if he's the worst person ever to walk the face of the earth. You can't sit there and discredit him going to the chase. You can't discredit his championship one year. And just because Tony Stewart is a fan favorite and he's on his farewell tour, you can't all of a sudden be fine with this rule that you were so much against last year because you didn't like the driver that was benefited from it. And if I'm not mistaken, there was another driver that benefited from this rule before. Tony Stewart was eligible another year. Nobody had a problem with it. He just never could get back in the top 30 that year when the Kevin Ward Jr. thing went on. I made mention of this last year when Kyle Busch got awarded this opportunity because of the rule, and nobody complained about Tony Stewart the year before. So here we are following Tony Stewart. You didn't have a problem with it. Kyle Busch does it. You have a problem with it. Now Tony Stewart has a legitimate opportunity. He didn't get that win the year before with Kevin Ward stuff. Now I understand it was only like 3 races, but it don't matter. That was his doing. And I understand that Tony Stewart had no control of Kevin Ward Jr. running out in front of his car or grabbing his car, whatever happened. And I fully blame the other driver on that one. But Tony Stewart also chose it wasn't a physical thing not to be in those races. And I understand his mind was probably not in the right place to be out there, but that was his choice, just like it was his choice to be out there at dirt track racing. Like I said, I'm not faulting Stewart any stretch of the imagination, but it was not a medical reason. Kyle Busch, that was a medical reason. Them not having the safer wall and the inside wall, that was not his doing. Then having all that grass and he couldn't slow down was not his doing. None of what happened last year was his doing, but yet Tony Stewart does extra stuff, does his extra racing, gets himself hurt. It puts him in a predicament that he can't compete in a full season, 2 seasons now. Was awarded the same opportunity, couldn't put it together the first year, looking like he's going to put it together this year to get in the chase. Those 2 years don't matter to no NASCAR fan. But because Kyle Busch is who Kyle Busch last year, it was a big deal. And like I said, I don't care the nicest guy. I don't care if he's.
Yeah. I agree with that. No, the thing is, they didn't write the rule saying this rule is okay for everybody except Kyle Busch or Tony Stewart. They don't write it like that, And the fans are the ones that, like you said, they might take their particular driver, and that's why it happens. But no one says it's right. They don't write the rule like that. The rule is for all 40. The rules for all 40 drivers.
I understand that NASCAR fans are probably the most loyal fans there are out there. I've been to my fair share, probably good 30, 40 races over the last 2 or 3 years. Tomorrow, as a matter of fact, I'll be working on credentials for the next for a few races now that I got the promotion and know that I will be financially able to go to these races. Be putting in for some races this year. And so I've been to my fair share of the track. I've seen fans. I understand that they are probably the most dedicated and loyal fans to their driver than there is in any sport. But NASCAR fans, this is coming from NASCAR is my number one sport, my favorite sport of all time. You have no idea how bad and what kind of label you're throwing on the fans of NASCAR when you sound about as ignorant and hypocritical as you possibly can. You can't sit there and be fine with the rule 1 year because it suits your driver or a more popular driver or even a driver you wouldn't mind seeing winning the championship. But then the next year, you got the serious issue with it because you cannot stand a driver, do not want to see him in the chase, do not want to see him win a championship, to turn around the next year and say, you know what, we're fine with that rule again because we wouldn't mind seeing him on his retirement tour, win a championship and be in the chase and everything else. NASCAR fans, do you not understand how ignorant you sound? You make me sound ignorant because I'm part of the NASCAR fan base.
Yep.
I don't think there's any sport. I don't think there's any other sport out there that have such contradicting fans that are fine with one team having one rule, but don't want any other team, or better yet, don't want one team to have a certain rule that they want the other 31 teams or the other 30 teams out there to benefit from. I have never seen a sport that is so dedicated to their driver and so dedicated of hating certain drivers that they want the rules to fit each driver that best suits them. No other sport. Now, there's a lot of dedicated fans out there in other sports. Don't get me wrong. But no other sport do we have fans go to this extreme that they want the rules to apply to what teams they like, what teams they don't like, what teams they wouldn't mind seeing winning the Super Bowl, what teams they do not ever want to see in the playoffs or win the Super Bowl. It is ridiculous when it comes to talking to NASCAR fans. I couldn't imagine, and I know that there's Facebook groups and there's chaotic mess going on right now, and I'm glad that I do not run a NASCAR fan group or any kind of fan group when it comes to NASCAR, period, right now, because of everything that has gone on. I can only imagine what the conversations are like, and this is one I know that's not getting a lot of play time, and I'm going to do my part. Believe me, you. I am going to do my part to stir the pot on this one because it is really insulting to me that you've got drivers that there is no problem with the rule benefiting them, and then you got your few drivers that you guys sound like the biggest complete jackasses out there and talking about somebody. They have beat the whole Kyle Busch thing and should not win a championship and blah, 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 blah for the last 6 months now at this point. No, 7, 8, 9. Oh, yeah, 9. We're getting ready to go in July, and they won it back in November, so we're at least about 9 months at this point. Get over yourself with it. Yeah.
I was wondering, I have to add to what you just said, though. In view of what you just said, which is true, okay, I because Tony won and because of the Kyle Busch, what happened to him last year, too, I thought about this over the weekend, knowing I was going to come on with you as well. I was wondering about this. Maybe we should make a poll on the 110 page. Maybe I'll do that. What do fans think? Do they think that Jimmy Johnson would be as detested as he is right now? All the talk about Johnson, this, and you got the people that are, yes, pro Jimmy Johnson, but then you have your Johnson haters too. Would he be as hated if he didn't have 6 championships
I I don't think it's the championships. I think because they push the envelope so close to the edge, I think that, and the fact that Chad Knaus has been suspended from races for pushing that envelope a little too far, I think that's where a lot of that comes from, and that throws a lot of questions on how legit is their championships if they've been cheating. But like I start this off every time when I have this conversation, every single team and every single driver cheats. It is a proven fact. Every team pushes it as far as they can until they get caught.
Right. Right.
To the simple point that they are given a 5 mile and over the speed limit variance, but the speed limit is 55. If the speed limit is 55, you do 55. If NASCAR's nice enough to give you the 60 and you go 58, well, you're technically cheating because the speed limit is 55. NASCAR is just trying to be nice to give you the 60. That to me is not my book. That's cheating. And I know it's not. It seems using the pit stalls to their advantage, but I also know technically teams are getting away with cheating because if you're in that last loop because it's timed. It's not like they sit there with a radar gun. And I didn't know how they did it for a long time, and it really opened my eyes to this. There's two ways that teams take advantage, and technically they're cheating, but they're defeating the system, but they're still cheating. If you have that last pit stall or one of the last pit stalls that you're with outside of that last loop, in other words, you're in that last time loop, and you know that your pit stop is going to make your time be way too long anyway. Say you've got 15 seconds to get from the beginning of that loop to off pit road loop. Well, if your pit stall is in the middle of that, your pit stop's going to be 15 seconds. So therefore, you can go as fast as you want into your pit and as fast as you want off the pit, and you're not going to get a speeding ticket. Just like the other advantage that teams will use is if you're in that loop right before the start-finish line, knowing that could be an advantage to keep you from going down a lap or possibly even winning the race, depending on how it all plays out. But every team, to my point, every team cheats. There is not one team out there that could put their hand on the Bible, whatever you religiously pray to, worship, whatever the case may be, children's life, grandparents' graves. There is not a team out there that could put their hand on any of that, swear to any of that, and not be struck dead when they say that they do not cheat. There's never been a time that they've ever cheated. I guarantee you that. But I think that's where a lot of Jimmy Johnson, the animosity and the dislike, and yeah, it got old watching someone win a championship 6 times in a row, even though I would love to see Jimmy Johnson get 7 and 8. It's not that because, at one point in time I was a Jimmy Johnson fan. I started watching all the time, or watching him win all the time, and that's when I was watching Danica, and I would pick sentimental favorites until Danica made the leap into Sprint Cup, and that's when I became a Danica, and I just learned to really love and appreciate what Kyle Busch can do in a car, and became a Kyle Busch fan. And I got the best of both worlds. I got a guy that wins all the time, and a guy that ain't going to probably ever win a race. So I can never get old because I got 2 of them out there. But I lost my total. Even at the time being a Jimmy Johnson fan, I remember watching Jimmy Johnson win his first championship. As a matter of fact, I remember that not real well because her ex was trying to find out outside of our house. At that point in time, I still smoked. And so I was outside, and I taped the race on DVR because I worked that Sunday, and I get home till 10, 11 o'clock at night. And so I'm watching the race, and I'm up till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I forget what it is, but the race I think just ended. And so I stepped outside. I was smoking a Black & Mild at that point in time. My ex was outside smoking. We were in the carport, and the girl that lived across the street, she was real guy-friendly, for a better term of word. And so there was constantly always cars out there in the driveway or out there in front of the house where they would park. And so when I went outside, I just naturally assumed that's who it was. And we're in the carport. Jimmy Johnson just won the championship, and I'm like, wouldn't that be funny if that was your ex? Well, what out of nowhere, here her ex comes from our backyard with a tire iron, and it was a long story short, he was in the back watching us in the kitchen and stuff, was actually waiting for her to get close enough to the window that he could take the timer and bust through the window and bust her in the head and kill her. Like that, this dude was just mentally unstable. I walked inside. When he walked inside, I grabbed a knife. I grabbed the gun, I didn't have a gun at the time. Grabbed the phone and grabbed the knife. I came back outside. When I walked back outside, gave her the phone, told her to go ahead and call the cops. I stood there, and he went ahead and ran off real quick. But I can remember when Jimmy Johnson won the first championship, long story short. Hell, I can remember, and I was a Gordon fan, I can remember when Gordon won his first championship. I remember very well because I was at Atlanta. Atlanta used to be the last race of the season. It was 95. Gordon only had to finish 35th or better. He obviously finished better than that. So both those drivers were, once upon a time, my favorite drivers. I just got tired of watching them win all the time. NASCAR's not one of those sports I can watch a driver win all the time. I can't watch one driver dominate. It's not like football where I got 16 games to choose from. It's NASCAR. I got one race on Sunday. That's it. I don't want to see the same person dominate all the time. So, yes, winning 6 championships in all those races in that period of time, yes, that turned people off, got people aggravated. But to me, it was more to do with the fact that it got more publicized, I think, because he was the champion, that the whole, getting caught and the cheating that they were doing, which was funny because I think it was only once that they actually got in trouble, and that's when Chad Knapp got suspended for 2 or 4 races. I forget how many races he got suspended for. The rest of the time it was pre-race or pre-qualifying or whatever the case was, just like all the other cars out there. When anytime Jimmy Johnson would fail an inspection, there was always at least 3 or 4 other cars that failed the inspection as well. But nobody talked about it because they were only worried about the fact that it was Jimmy Johnson who failed a pre-race or pre-qualifying. Didn't fail the post-race or the post-qualifying, but it was the pre-race or the pre-qualifying inspections that he would fail. And the only one that really ever matters is the post-race, and if you pass all them, it doesn't really matter how many inspections you failed before then, as long as your car was legit during the race and you finished the race as being legit. And that's really all that really matters. Every team pushes their envelope. Like I said, a lot of teams would also fail just everybody, the 48 car, once again, the 48. Never mind the 5 or other 6 teams that didn't get through that inspection as well. We're going to focus on the one guy that we want to sit there and try to run over with a tractor trailer and run their name through the mud. But I think that's what it's got a lot to do with a lot of people just visualize that 48 team being a team that cheated versus and then how solidified is the 6 championship if they're out there cheating.
Right, and that brings up another point, a similar point with what we've been talking about. Also, that whenever Ganous cheated or was caught, it always made the papers. Now, I'll give you an example this weekend. I'll give you an example from last week and this weekend. All of a sudden, Kyle Larson's crew chief, that thing from last week died down. I haven't read anything about it. And then over the weekend, he dominated one of the practices in the 42 car, and you didn't hear a peep from any of the announcers. Oh, well, about, Larson's crew chief or this, that. It just died on the vine. I read nothing about it after they were supposed to make, I guess they kept it quiet, whatever they did, fines or whatever. If that was Jimmy Johnson's team from years ago, it would have been all over the papers, and probably Kyle Busch's crew too. It's just it's favoritism that way, I feel. Because I was looking from last week, because I know on your program I said that, NASCAR had said they would come down with something by the end of the week, and there was just never anything written. And then on top of that, he goes to Sonoma and then dominates time-wise. I guess they take the best time and say he was tops in practice or whatever. Lawson was tops in the first practice, and that's all you heard about, about anything.
Now I have another question. You're talking about the race West Coast. They had time to review everything for the penalties for the fight from the Truck Series race. What is there really to review? 2 guys got out. They semi-wrestled around Townley did his best impression of a DDT, which I want to know if his head, the other driver's head, actually even hit the ground. It didn't look like it, but he made his best attempt of WWE's DDT, which I found very entertaining on that part of it, because he was going Stone Cold Stunner on him, or I guess more of Jake the Snake DDT, because he was the one that would do the DDT and then make him fall asleep and put a snake on him. And then there was punches thrown. Like, what is there really to review? Both of them fought. Both of them threw exchanged fists. So I mean, yes, you know, I don't know what there's really to review, because it's obvious what happened.
Everything on the video that I saw was out in the open. Nothing was hidden. So you could actually watch it on a computer or a laptop and figure it out. But I think that's why NASCAR was vague. It was like, okay, we have to sit down and review this, or, you know, I guess to follow procedure or something. Because to me, looking at the video, and you could tell from the thing that I posted too, everything was out in the open. And the last of the fight that I saw that's on the video, they exchanged, like you said, fists. It almost looked like a hockey fight when the two guys get in a clinch, and then one breaks free, and they start exchanging punches, like one-handed punches, and holding each other with the other hand. You know, it was more like the end of a hockey fight without your helmet on. You know, and
I tell you what, Townley was rather pissed. Like, it's been a minute since I've seen a driver like that enraged. Like, we've seen some mad drivers, but especially because of this new rule, when you don't get out and do that kind of stuff because of safety issues, we ain't seen it in a while, but it's been a while. Honestly, the last time I've seen somebody on that much of a mission was probably when we watched Clint Boyer at Phoenix go through pit road and go through the garage area and go back and meet. Well, I take that back. We saw that the chase 2 years ago in the chase.
Kozlowski and Matt, right? Kozlowski and Matt, I think they fought right next to the motorhomes. I remember. I think they went through each other.
Yeah, that chase right there. That was Charlotte. I was supposed to be at that race, and I probably would have been back there, because I usually hang out after the race. Either that, or when Kevin Harvick kind of pushed either Keselowski or whoever else was out there, Gordon or whoever it was that got in that fight by the cars. But since those moments, so you're talking about not last year's chase, but the year before's chase, since then, it's almost 2 seasons at this point. I don't think we've really seen anybody that passionately and that pissed that they just blinked out and just did what they did. Like, I was kind of shocked. Like, I understood in the chase why those drivers were doing the chase. It was the chase. But here we are in mid-season form, and you just blanked out. And it was comical to watch, because you two are not fighters and really have no business ever trying to fight. But yet you were that enraged that you wanted to fight, like, in front of everybody. Like, let's not go back to the garage area and duke it out. We're gonna roll around on the track. I'm going to try to DDT you on the racing surface. I'm going to try to bust your head open. And, you know, it's entertaining, as funny as that sounds. I wonder how much of that NASCAR is going to take into consideration, since they're going back and watch the video when they do assess the fines and the penalties. Because, I mean, ultimately that's what Townley's mission was when he did the DDT, was to bust his head on the concrete. So I wonder if that's going to weigh into how serious this gets.
I wonder when they do meet if they're going to even discuss this part, CJ, because my initial thought was, okay, before they even exchanged punches or got next to one another, they broke the rule about getting out of the car. So they were both wrong even before they exchanged punches. So maybe that's one of the reasons they're going to meet too. Like, okay, you know, everything's even up until they start fighting. Now, who threw the first punch? blah, blah, blah. Maybe it's something on that order because technically they were both wrong to get out of the car to begin with. You know, they each broke a rule, the rule that you mentioned, you know, even before they started fighting. So that's interesting.
You sit on one end of the couch, you sit on the other. I want to make sure you don't fall asleep. No, B, you sit it down at that arm, and one you sit at that arm. I want you the complete opposite ends of the couch. Move the pillows out of the way for the pillows between you guys. There you go. All right, one more NASCAR topic that I want to talk about is the pass. The pass that Tony Stewart put on Denny Hamlin. I think, honestly, it would have been any other driver to include, more specifically, Brad Keselowski or Kyle Busch. I think NASCAR Nation would be enraged right now of how Tony Stewart pretty much put Denny Hamlin into the wall to make this pass. But because it's Tony Stewart, because of the significance of the track, because his dad was there, because he's on the farewell tour, we talk about it being one hell of a pass, and that was just a racing move. I'm not saying I necessarily have an issue with it. I'm just saying I know how it would have gone, how the conversation would have been if that would have been Kyle Busch or Brad Keselowski that would have done it. Yet here we are and talk about how remarkable it was. What was your opinion on it, and did you have an issue with that particular racing move?
I don't have an issue with the move either, except that I'm going to try and answer, in my opinion, of what you were saying about those other two guys, if it was the other two guys. I don't think Hamlin, the reason people aren't as up in arms is he doesn't have a reputation of being more or less of a hothead. You know, Denny will make a racing move now and then, but he's not like Keselowski has the reputation, unfortunately, and I know you like Brad because of the, military background too, which is fine. Mm-hmm. And I have nothing against Brad either. I don't have anything against Brad.
I'm not going to say I like Brad. I have respect for him and what he does, but go ahead.
Right. But with the flags and everything else, I understand that. But in terms of Denny's not known to do like a Kyle Busch type of, again, the old Kyle Busch or the new Kyle Busch when he came in, or Keselowski. He doesn't have that reputation. I think that's what hurts, rightly or wrongly, that's what hurts those two guys you mentioned, is the prior reputation or the present reputation. I'm not saying it's right, but that's my educated guess on it. And with Denny, yeah, he's been known to make racing moves, but he doesn't treat, I don't think, Denny's not known reputation-wise for using his car as a missile, to hurt other drivers or to wreck other drivers purposely. I think that's part of it too, where everybody could look at that and say, okay, it was a racing move, or it was just racing, and nobody's going to get upset except maybe the two guys that got knocked out. But, in terms of that, and just say, okay, it was a race, it was an attempt at, it was attempt at side-by-side racing or whatever. That's just my educated guess that the other two drivers had that unfortunate previous reputation that probably will follow them, unfortunately. That's my educated guess on that. I don't know that I'm right, but that's my guess.
Yeah, and I just think it's funny because I know without a doubt that the storyline or the headline would have read totally different if that would have been Keselowski or Kyle Busch, because of Tony, because of the significance of the track, his father being there, the farewell tour. we're sitting here talking about how great of a move that was, and no second thought about, okay, he just put Denny Hamlin into the wall to win the race. Like, he intentionally ran him into the wall. Like, there's no denying this. There's no, well, no, there's no. You watch the replay, Tony Stewart ran up into the wall. Plain and simple. And it's just remarkable to me, once again, NASCAR fans. If that would have been other drivers, you would be on your soapbox today, and social media never would have got to sleep last night. But now here it is. It's Tony Stewart that does it, and everybody's fine with it. There's no issue. And now we're looking to see if Tony Stewart can make sure that he stays in the top 30 and he gets to be in the chase to possibly win a championship. But once again, if that would have been some other driver, oh, yeah, we had that last year. Social media never ended, and here we are 9 months later still talking about the fact Kyle should not be a champion. But anyway.
Then, based on what you said also, I just, it's not a matter of picking, but you brought up another point that I thought of also. As you were talking, I didn't think of it before. With him possibly getting in or trying to get into the chase, if they sat Tony down in terms of a suspension or a loss of more races, and only NASCAR knows this. Were they thinking, oh well, if we sat Tony because of that, or if we handed out a penalty to him, do we want him to be eliminated from chase possibilities?
As well as I know, NASCAR is not going to do that. This is their golden ticket this year. Jeff Gordon was their golden ticket last year, and making sure that he got into the chase and got into the Final Four. And thank God for NASCAR was sitting there saying thank God for Matt Kenseth, because him taking out Joey Logano gave Jeff Gordon that win, made it so he got to be part of that Final Four. NASCAR is not going to do anything on Tony Stewart's farewell tour to prevent him from making the chase and prevent him from having an opportunity to win the championship. This is their golden ticket this year.
That's what I'm saying.
And like I said, this is nothing against Tony Stewart. You ran a great race. There's a reason why you was there in the last turn to make that lap. There's a reason why you're going to be in the chase. You're a great driver. Glad to see the winning streak come to an end. This is not a shot against Tony Stewart or anything against Tony Stewart. This is more against the NASCAR fans that are hypocrites, because we know what we know, and we know that we're not going to hear the same stories that we got to hear last year, nor would we hear the same stories if that would have been Kyle Busch or Brett Keselowski or some other driver nobody's really big on. If they would have put Denny Hamlin in the wall to win that race, we already know how this conversation would have been. We would have had today about this race and the NASCAR nation. Make sure you guys tune in Friday night. Hot Laps with Stats, 8 p.m. He's got great guests lined up for you guys tonight, Friday night. Once again, what you got going on Friday night, Mike, before I get you out of here?
We got Jimmy Blewett definitely coming on from the tour. And the reason I'm having him on basically this week is he got a top 5. Trying to get Timmy Solomito, who actually won at his home track, which was excellent for him. He was on cloud 9. More so probably, it's not to say more so for any win, because obviously you're proud of any win, but more so because Riverhead is his home track. And also, like I said, in CJ's neighborhood there, Eddie Fatchler, who won a major legend event maybe 2 weeks ago or so, and so I'm trying to get him on for Friday night. And also keep in mind, like I said to the fans over the air on Friday, whenever I book somebody ahead, I will let you know so you could plan. Next week, John Elwood, the GM of Riverhead, will be on. Also, just an observation, CJ, based on what we were talking about with the NASCAR race. One last observation I had is usually when they race on the West Coast, Kevin Harvick dominates, and I think, I don't want to say he's absolutely no good on road courses, but he sort of disappeared this week. I mean, he was around, and then he dropped like a stone. And I was a little bit surprised at that because he usually, is near the front if it's a West Coast race. And apparently he must have had a problem with the car because at the end, I'm not sure where he finished, but he dropped from within the top 5 to whatever his position was in the team somewhere. So in the last couple of laps, he got betrayed by the car or the road course, I don't know which. But that was a little surprising to me because he usually finishes in the top 5, if not, top 10. And he did not do that this week. So, but anyway, I will continue to try to book my people for Friday night and keep an eye on things. And it should be an interesting week. And hopefully the fans tune in all week long to our shows, but especially Steve's show on Thursday. I don't know who he has. Maybe CJ knows at this point. But definitely my show on Friday. And support your local track. It's important.
Most definitely. I got a couple of topics I want to jump into. Thanks, Mike. I know you're going to be hanging around if we need any stats. I'll have you in the messenger.
Okay. Take care, CJ.
Take care. I'm not sure who. We got Dalton Sargent joining us tomorrow night at 9:30. Excellent race car driver. Looking forward to having him. Tuesday nights with the shift going from 8 to 10 instead of 9 to 11. Izzo, our NHL expert, is going to be taking the 9:30 to 10. He's going to be finishing up the show for us. But because we went ahead and had Dalton Sargent already scheduled for 9:30, because when Miss Lee scheduled Dalton, we were still 9 to 11, so she was getting him in the first hour block, and that way we had Izzo for the second hour block. Because of the fact that we was going to be on 9 to 11, still at that point in time, she had scheduled Dalton at 9:30, so we're going to have Izzo joining us at 9 o'clock tomorrow, and he's going to be on from 9 to 9:30. Then we'll be wrapping up with Dalton, and then moving forward the next week after that, Izzo will be playing that 9:30 to 10 slot every week moving forward. We're still waiting to hear back at Moffitt. Racing over at Empire Racing with, Dylan Martin. I don't know why that drew blank with that. Over at Empire Racing, so looking forward to having Thad Moffitt on the show once everything gets situated. But Dalton Sargent and Izzo will be joining us. Izzo will be talking about the NHL draft and then getting us ready for the July 1st free agency season. So looking forward to that tomorrow night. I don't think we got anybody in for Wednesday. And then Chris Yellow Caution Flag Creighton, who was the co-host of the Dirt Talk Hour Sunday night, he is going to be making his return. I don't know if it's this week or not, but he is making his return to Racing with Big Sweat Thursday night. So looking forward to having Chris Yellow Caution Flag glad to have him back on the network. A great person to have on the staff. So looking forward to that as well. I can't express my appreciation for the loyalty when it comes to Chris, as the reason, and this is going to the reason why we no longer have the Dirt Talk Hour on Sunday night. Come to find out that Damian, being the original host of the show, once the numbers started to get really good on the show and being on the 110 Nation Sports Radio Network, Damian got a little bit bigger than his britches and thought that he was going to take the show elsewhere. And Chris decided he had no part to do with that, which ultimately ended up killing the show. And that's to where I show my great appreciation to Chris, because he had all the opportunity in the world to jump ship and really kind of divide our partnership, and him and Damian go elsewhere to do the show. I don't know where Damian was wanting to do it, and this, that, and the other. But ultimately, that's what ended up killing the Sunday night show, was because the numbers started to get up there for that show. He got bigger britches than it really ever should have gotten. It was a great show. It had a lot of great guests, but it took all the pieces to make that be what it was. You remove any of those pieces, it wasn't what it was. And what I mean by, yes, you had a lot of listeners because of who you were. You had a lot of listeners because of Chris. You had a lot of listeners because of myself. And they also had a lot of listeners because of the 110 Nation Sports Radio Network. There was not a platform if our 200,000 listeners weren't, and them weren't making it over, or their show was not being replayed over at I-95 Network, they would not have had the numbers that they had. The numbers would have been significantly different just because it not being on the network and it not being syndicated over to I-95. Not to count their listeners, or the people that tune in because of me being on the show as well. All those egos set aside, the fact that it was on the 110 Nation Sports Radio Network, and because it was sent out to our thousands and thousands, I think we're 50, 60,000 followers and likes combined from all our platforms. Then not to mention all the listeners and the shows that got replayed on the site and the blog site. Long story short, glad to have Chris back on the network. Thankful for his loyalty. I kind of laughed at the whole situation. Not the first time. It's not going to be the last time that people start getting numbers and see what their show can do and just assume that they can take it elsewhere and get the same results. And 9 out of 10 times is not the same. And they're not the first one to do that. There was another show that they end up finding out the hard way. They are on their own now. They do really well for themselves, but they thought that they were going to remove their show from our network because the numbers they were getting and take it to another network, and we're going to get the same result. And ultimately, it did not happen. We have probably one of the most loyal fan bases when it comes to the companies such as ourselves, the podcast and blog companies. Our listening base is very large, and they are very dedicated. And there's a lot of listeners, if they listen to the 110 Nation Sports Show, they'll drop in and listen to Racing with Big Sweat, or they'll drop in and listen to Hot Laps with Stats, or they'll drop in and listen to Happy Hour Garage, or whatever the case may be, or any show that I put together. I'm not saying they listen to all of it, but they'll at least give it an opportunity. If they like what they have, it's a good show, they'll be back. Same with any of the other shows. There's a lot of Racing with Big Sweat fans that they'll tune in and listen to see what other sports we got going on, or they'll tune into Rubbing His Racing on Monday night, or they'll tune into the Dirt Talk Hour, Rubbing His Racing, Racing with Big Sweat's a local track show. There's a lot of fans that listen to multiple shows because of their loyalty and their like for the 110 Nation. And once you remove yourself from the thousands, hundreds of thousands of fans that we have, and go to another network just because it looks like a good idea, sounds like a good idea, doesn't always mean it's a good idea. Because a lot of other networks, one, their numbers are not as good. They might tell you they are, but they're not as good. Second of all, they've not been established and been around. The last company that the last show that went to another company, they weren't around as long as us. They're not around now. There's a reason for this. There's a reason why we do the things we do and offer the opportunities, and either you be a part of it or you don't. So we don't force you. We don't make you sign a contract. We don't nothing like that. We know that we're going to be around. We've been around for over 5 years. We're going to continue to be around. We're a legitimate company. We all are passionately involved with what we're doing. We love what we're doing. Mike doesn't have to be on these shows every night. Mike doesn't have to listen into his shows every night. Mike doesn't have to be at Hall with stats every night, but he does because he passionately loves what he does and enjoys doing it and wants to see the 110 Nation grow. Miss Lee, I can't even begin. I think the biggest thing you need to know about Miss Lee, due to issues going on in her personal life and location, she does not have internet, but yet she talks to every PR person, every guest, schedules every single person, relates, posts. She posts, I would say, at least 25 to, between 25 and 40% of the posts daily, depending on what day of the week, depending on how active myself is, depending on how active Mike is, depending on how active anybody else that has accessibility to posting stuff on the page is. But anywhere from 25 to 40% of the posts that go on the 110 Nation page and the 110 Nation group, not to mention every other group and stuff that she's involved with. She's an admin in 3 or 4 other groups and big groups at that. So there's a reason why we have the success we do. There's a reason why we do things we do. There's a reason why I do things the way I do. I look for the loyalty. I understand that we're not big. I understand that we don't make money. I understand everybody has to do what they do for free except for myself, and it costs me an arm and a leg to do it. It almost cost me, well, before I got my promotion, it cost me almost a paycheck out of the month to do what we do. And then you figure a whole other paycheck goes to child support. So you can only imagine what my financial situation is. But I passionately love what I'm doing. I will continue to do what I'm doing and love every last bit of it. And we will eventually be in a building. We will eventually be on 24 hours a day. We'll eventually have a staff full of writers. But I pick and I do what I do so those can show their loyalty and their dedication. Yes, we can be a company that, I could have daddy's money and I could offer people to pay them to do it, but I'm not going to get meaningful work. I am not going to. And I'm not saying, yeah, I can because I don't have a daddy to get the money from. But I'm saying, yes, in a perfect world, I could already have the money and already be in a location. But what kind of loyalty and dedication and staff are we going to get? This right here is why we are as strong as we are. This right here is why we have a couple 100,000 listeners and only have a staff of about 6 to 8 people. We know that when we make it big, those 6 to 8 people are going to have a nice life. They're going to have a great career here at the 110 Nation, and that's why we do things. That's why I don't do contracts. I don't sit there and beg, plead, and everything else. You want to take your show somewhere else? Go ahead and take your show somewhere else. I am very happy and very content with what we got going on here. I can have 1 show a week, or we can have 7 shows a week. Either way, we're still getting our numbers. Either everybody's going to tune in and listen to 1 show, or everybody's going to tune in and listen to 7 shows. That is what that is. And so I don't stress it. Yes, we got an open day still. I would love to have a show on. I've been dropping the ball, getting emails out, but at the same time, I'm also still trying to look for a more diverse show. That's kind of why I'm dragging the feet on it. And where I want to set it up where I can do a double show, where I can pre-record one on Spreaker and have the other show a friend of Mike's, and that way An uploaded show can be played on the same day as live show as long as they don't go over the time limit and it all works out. So, I mean, there's a lot of different variations, but there's a reason why we do the things the way we do it, and we have the staff that we have. We do more with the 6 people or so that we have, and the reach we have, then there's a lot of companies out there that have 20, 30, 50 people. We just simply do. I probably have the 6 or 8, how many people that are here, most loyal, dedicated people that there possibly could be. And I would put my 6 to 8 people up against 50 people any days a week. And when it goes to the numbers and the quality and the loyalty and the production and the effort and everything else that goes involved. And speaking of which, it's going to take loyalty. It's going to take dedication. And it's going to take a big hill for Team USA to go back-to-back gold. 24/7 Sports doesn't feel the same way. Doesn't feel the same way. They already basically calling it back-to-back medals. I don't see it the same way. I'm looking at this roster, and I'm not impressed. I'm sorry, but I'm not. We got DeAndre Jordan, Team USA. The basket could be as big, Pacific Ocean, and this man is going to miss a free throw. It don't matter. Like, it could be, the basket could be as big as the globe. This man is going to click, boom, click, his free throws. He's not. The next player on this list, Carmelo Anthony, one of the biggest ball hogs in the NBA. You got to take 40, 50 shots to get 20, 30 points. Not a high percentage shooter. Not really a passer. Not really that good of a basketball player. I mean, let's just be honest about it. I mean, let's call an ace and a spade a spade. Not the most talented driver or most talented basketball player out there. There's a reason why he's never made it to the finals. There's a reason why, unless he gets put on a team as he's going out of his career and gets put on a championship team. In other words, if on his last year on out the door, he decides to go sign with the Golden State Warriors or Cleveland if they're still doing good, or San Antonio, he might win himself a championship. But outside of that, Carmelo Anthony's not leading no team to win no championship. It's not happening. Next player on this roster, Harrison Barnes. Harrison Barnes, who went, 2 for 800 in the finals, when it was all on the line, and it mattered, and your team needed you, you're about to be on the biggest stage you've ever been on. You're about to play for Team USA. The whole world is about to watch you. And here you are. Knowing that you're going to choke. You're going to be part of Team USA. Interesting. Next player on my list, and I'm concerned whether or not we're going to find our way back to back-to-back golds. DeMarcus Cousins. Can he keep his ego in check? Can he keep his attitude under control? Draymond Green has made himself be labeled the dirtiest basketball player in the NBA. For some reason, he has got he's got an infatuation with either kicking or having his hands on other men's private parts. I'm not quite sure, but he's got this big obsession lately. It seems that he had to have his foot all up and down Steven Adams' crotch area. He had to put his hand and try to get him a feel on LeBron James in his crotch area. I mean, I don't know what Draymond Green's personal life is like, but if there's any indication from what we're seeing on the hardwood, I think we got a good idea. Klay Thompson. We've seen in every series, Klay Thompson is only good for one game. He's going to show up one. Are we going to see Klay Thompson show up for one game and their runs to the goal? I mean, it's basically one series. We can only count on one. KD. How tough is KD going to play knowing that his contract could possibly be on, whether or not he's still healthy? I mean, does KD go right away and get a contract signed? So there'll be a possibility. Does he sign from? No, I'm not saying Green might be lonely. I think there might be more of a reason why he's taken a very big interest to all the players' crotch area. I don't think lonely is it. I think he might play for the Rainbow Warriors, not the Golden State Warriors. There's a lot of pieces to this USA team. Don't get me wrong. I hope we can win gold. It's also interesting how well you play together when you have made a living the last two seasons of hating each other. In other words, there's not too many Cleveland Cavalier players that like Golden State players and vice versa. So you got Kyrie Irving on a team that's got Klay Thompson, Harrison Barnes, and Draymond Green, which behind KD, Kyrie Irving is probably your next best player. And yet you're going to mix that in the chemistry of three Golden State players that both teams have kind of made a living this last year, taking shots at each other and not liking each other. Which kind of brings me to a point. Should players be able to turn down the opportunity? If you get asked by Team USA, should you be able to turn down that opportunity? Should it be a requirement? Should it be a rotation? I know there was a lot of players that turned down the opportunity this year to play for Team USA. LeBron being one of them. Of course, he's going to catch criticism for that. The critics and the haters, and I think it's funny because there's actual Facebook groups and sites that are just dedicated to hating LeBron. I saw it earlier today. Oh, the hate is real. Like they photoshopped. I'm going to say Photoshop, a screenshot, a picture of what there being like 1.3 seconds left on the clock. It was right when Space was taking his shot. As a matter of fact, he missed. And one of the Cleveland Cavalier players came on the court, halfway on the court, when this went on. So when they screenshot it, it looks like Cleveland's playing with 6 players. This is how we could tell the NBA is rigged. Look, there's 6 players. That should be a technical foul. And, of course, you got the hater nation. It's the LeBron haters, whatever it's called. And they're going on and going on and going on and going on and going on. Then out of nowhere, you have a anti-Warrior fan. What do you know? He screenshots. 3 seconds left. When Golden State won their championship the year before. A little bit more time on the clock. And there's definitely 2, possibly 3. But there's at least 2 other players. The Golden State Warriors have at least 7, if not 8 players technically on the court with 3 seconds left. Of course, the LeBron haters and the Cleveland Cavaliers haters are still trying to have their argument, even though at that point the mic has been dropped, the conversation's over, because if you're going to screenshot the Cleveland Cavaliers having a player come on the court because they're starting to celebrate, the State's done missed a three-pointer, and the game is over, then you can't be mad and you can't have an argument if that's what that's your whole argument. If there were 6 players in a celebration, time was still on the clock, then you can't ignore the fact that Golden State had 2, possibly 3 players on the court with more time left in the Game 6 win that they won the championship the year before. The hate is real. But should players be able to pass up the opportunity? Or should the players be part of the contract? I don't know. I don't have a problem with them turning it down. Yes, it sucks looking at what Team USA looks like this year. It makes you wish there was a way that, no, they can't turn it down. We want to see Westbrook out there. We want to see LeBron James out there. We want to see Kevin Love out there. We want to see Kawhi Leonard, who turned it down, out there. There's a lot of players that we would rather see out there playing for Team USA than some of these players. Don't get me wrong, I have no problem seeing Paul George, KD, Jimmy Butler. There's a few players that I don't have a problem. But I also understand why these players are not one. We watched Paul George take a real bad injury. And it was accidental. It was a freak injury, but it happened. Because he was playing unnecessary ball. Which is funny because if they're not playing Team USA, the odds are they're still at the gym working out. They're still off-season doing their training. Same freakish accident could have happened then. I also understand you don't want those miles put on your tires. You're trying to prolong your career. Yes, the gold medal is probably not as prestigious to some, especially if you've already won it, versus hoisting the NBA Finals trophy. Be able to say you're number one. LeBron has won a gold medal before. That obviously meant nothing compared to what we've seen, his reaction, bringing a championship home to Cleveland. So I understand why players don't do it. I'm not trying to get on the players. I just know it sucks. I just know it sucks looking at this team. One, I don't have the confidence that this team is a for sure gold medalist. Two, this team does not interest me at all to want to sit down and watch it. I'm sorry. They're outside of Kyrie Irving, maybe KD. There's not another single player on this team that says, you know what, because they're playing, I'm going to watch. Like I said, I don't got a problem with Paul George being on the team, great player, but I just have no interest in watching them. I'm not an Indiana fan. I'm not a PG-13 fan. I'm just not. I don't dislike him. I'm just not a big fan of him. He's just a great player. That's it. Not someone I'm going on my way to watch on a Thursday night basketball game because I just don't have interest in watching Indiana. I just really don't. And it's not that I have a problem with DeAndre Jordan. I like watching the Clippers. I'm sorry, but he's one of the worst free throw shooters in the world. Why put one of the worst three-point shooters in the world on a team that if it comes down to it, we're screwed? I'm sorry. This is Team USA. I want the best of the best. Not the best rebounder, but the worst free throw shooter in the NBA. I want the best of the best. I have never made a point to sit down and watch anything Carmelo Anthony, none alone his attempt at playing basketball. Well, even Johnny Manziel's lawyers split him. Lost his PR, he lost his endorsements, he lost his contract. Now he lost his girlfriend. Now he's losing his lawyer. He's about to lose his free time too. He's about to be a locked up man. But yeah, I don't ever want to see a team like this assembled together again. I just don't. And there's not enough players on there that I want to watch. Kyrie Irving is not going to be on the court long enough. It's not like the NBA and the Cleveland Cavaliers, and he's going to be out there 35 minutes. He's not going to get that kind of play time. So therefore, there's not going to be enough of an interest for me to want to sit down and watch the 20 minutes or so of Kyrie, 20 minutes or so of Katie. Kawhi Leonard would have been playing, yes. It would have been great to see Kobe Bryant. I know he's retired, but let him go ahead and play one more Team USA. Why not? I don't know if he wanted to or not, but that would have been great. I would have watched it. Of course, LeBron James, I would have made more point of watch it. I'd say why not Chris Paul, but I know he turned it down. Trying to think of a couple other players that I would go out of my way or make a point to watch it if they were. I think if Westbrook would have been on team, which I think he turned down, I would have been more interested in Russell Westbrook because at least I would have had the Westbrook KD connection, which to me would have made it interesting to see how the international teams defended and if they could dominate all over the international teams as well. Tomorrow night we got we got Dalton Sargent joining us at 9:30. I'm very excited about having him on the show. First time visit for him. We got Izzo joining us at 9 o'clock this Tuesday. Moving forward, he will have the 9:30 to 10 slot. Don't forget, if you're just tuning in or did jump into the 9 o'clock hour, we shifted the show forward 8 to 10 due to my new work schedule. Got to be up at 4:30 every morning. Shifted it forward to hopefully get some sleep and not to be up too late. So make a note of that, 9 to 10 every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Don't forget Thursday night, still 9 to 10 to 10:30-ish, depending on if you have 2 or 3 guests. Racing with Big Sweat, brought to you by Snafu Seasoning, produced by the 110 Nation Sports Radio Network. Friday night, 8 o'clock till 10, which most weeks is not going to matter because I get weekends off now. Just don't get it yet because I don't have an assistant manager yet. So right now I'm barely even getting a day off. Not complaining. But 8 to 10, hot laugh with that. Noon on Saturdays, happy hour garage. Got to make sure I thank Snafu Seasoning. Make sure you check out the show on Thursday night. You'll be able to get your bottle of Snafu Seasoning, 100% no preservatives, 100% natural no preservatives. There we go. Also, got to thank Fit for Life. You can check them out on Facebook, Fit for Life. You can check them out at fitforlife.com as well. 24/7, 365. Get your gym on. Great price, clean facility. All the equipment you need. Make sure you guys check them out. Also, make sure you guys check out our Twitter. You can follow us at 110 Nation. You can follow me at CJ Sports 1. Check out my personal fan page, Mr. CJ Sports. The 110 Nation fan page, 110 Nation Sports. Also, check out our blog site, www.the110nationsports.com. I've had a lot of press releases over the last couple of days come out. Did 3 or 4 earlier today. Got another one we'll be doing after the show for Venturi Motorsports. And then I got some from other sports that we're going to be releasing as well. Also, check out our site, www.the110nation.com. I think I might be losing my voice here after my voice. I've just really got to dry them out. I've drank like 3 glasses of water this afternoon, and right before the show, as a matter of fact. And it still feels like I'm very dry. So definitely, and I'm sure I can hear it in the voice. But 5 minutes. Shorty's going to be walking into the house in about 5 minutes. That's okay because we got 2 kids, and I'm gonna wrap up with this. Got 2 kids sitting on the couch. They're not too happy with me at this particular moment. One of them was grounded from the tablet, and decided while I had them in the room, while they thought I was on the shows for the first show, that when it did not happen, he decided he was going to go and be a part of the tablet activities. So that got him in trouble. And because I snuck into the room because I knew what was going on, he lied to me 3 or 4 times, which that got him in more trouble. So that's the boy, and that's why he's upset and not too happy right now. Well, the daughter, which that's how sort of not let the kids roam the house because they can't stay out of stuff. She decided to grab a pen earlier when Shorty let them roam around the house and she wasn't paying attention. And she took a pen back to the room and decided to write "No Mommy" on the wall and "No Mommy" on the door. So in about 5 minutes when Shorty walks through the door, one little girl gets to go scrub the walls and the door to get the ink pen that she wrote on everything off. So about 4 minutes, your guys' mother will be here, and you got to hope you have fun. And I'm going to have fun because I'm going to sit here with a big smile on my face, give me something to drink, and kick back, do press releases, get the show sent over to I-95 Sports Network. Thank you guys once again. And enjoy the rest of my evening, and I'm going to enjoy my day off, possibly get a little sleep for once. At least sleep past 4:30, hopefully, for once. We'll see after 8 straight days of work. I don't know if I'm already quite used to it yet or not. We'll find out tomorrow morning. But make sure you guys tune in 8 o'clock tomorrow night. Don't be late. Don't miss out. It's over 9. Don't start it at 9:30. Got a great show for you guys lined up. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. But what's make us grow every day. The numbers just get better and better. Got to thank everybody for that. Tomorrow night, be back out here. Till then.
Thanks for listening to the 110 Nation Sports Show with Mr. CJ Sports. You are a part of the 110 Nation, so be sure to visit the110nation.com for everything related to the show. You can follow CJ on Twitter at 110Nation and on Facebook at 110 Nation Sports. Until next time.
When you don't go to Geico.com, car insurance can be confusing. Like Swedish techno confusing.
Bark, bark, meow, meow. Dance with me, purple cow. Bark, bark, meow, meow. Ooh, you lovely cow.
Geico makes it easy. With 24/7 access, all you have to do is go to Geico.com and you could save money on car insurance. It just makes sense. Unlike,
Dance with me, purple cow. I like your move.